TV studios in Nevada City, California, Touchdown Productions, celebrating a decade of local sports television, is proud to present Inside NU Football. Tonight's edition of Inside NU Football is being underwritten by A to Z Supply Ace Hardware. Dan Wheat is your friend in the hardware business, a friend of Dave Humphrey's, and a big fan of NU Miner football. And of course, the real graphic source in Grass Valley Blueprint. Mike and Gene Hauser own Grass Valley Blueprint, your one-stop source for all things graphic, from small color printings to large poster-sized reproductions, just like our Hooper Stadium background here on the Inside Show. It's the real graphic source. So come on inside. It's cold, it's wet, it's rainy. You're invited to come in and huddle up with NU Miner coach Mike Cartan and our guest Dane Devogelasere here on Inside NU Football. Week number 9, the Miners live and they control their own destiny on their road to the playoffs. Good evening, everybody. Thanks for joining us here on another great edition of Inside NU Football. Remember, the program is live, so we want you to tune in and call in. That phone number, 478-1174. Let's get some phone calls this week, talk about the Miners season, talk about the upcoming playoffs, and talk all about Miner football. That's what this show is all about. It's all about you and the Miners and you guys getting a close-up look and listen to from the players and the coaches that are playing the game and make Miner football so exciting. And tonight's guest, there's no exception. On my right here, Coach Mike Cartan, outside linebacker coach, and one of his tough linebackers over here on my left, Dane Devogelasere. Guys, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Well, nice to be
and
here.
we were talking just before the game, Coach, how I was saying what a different season this was, and then you brought up the fact that they're all different.
They are all different. And, you play each season, and you start in the beginning, and how it goes is you never really know, and hopefully you end up exactly where we are right now with destiny in our hands and a chance to go to the playoffs, and then we get to start, what we call the second season, and then the fun really begins.
Well, Miners almost missing the playoffs, needed a little help from Franklin, and you got that help and took care of business last week against Davis. What was that feeling like in playoffs? In the practices last week before the Davis game, where there was uncertainty about what the future was.
Well, Dane might answer that best, but I think from the coaching staff, you just try to get your kids ready for that game, and however it goes, there's some things you can't control, but you try to take care of business in regard to what you can control and just let the chips fall where they may, and I think that's what we did. And unfortunately we came away with a win, and Franklin came away with a win, and here we are in the driver's seat.
And Franklin gets that big win and helps out the Miners, Dane. Of course, you guys played Franklin. You know how tough they are. One of the teams that beat the Miners this year. Are you surprised that they're undefeated?
I don't know. They're a pretty good, pretty solid team. I think when we went against them the first time, we just weren't focused, weren't really trusting in our defensive team. So it'd be great to play them again in the playoffs or sometime soon to really see what they're like when we're gelling.
I haven't seen the grid. I haven't gone out to the web to see the grid. Is that a possibility that Franklin would lay in your future?
Eventually it could. Yeah, we could see them in the, I guess in the city championship game if it came to that. So it's always a possibility. And 2 years ago, matched up with Granite Bay, who was in our league, and played them in the city championship game. And then last year with Grant. So it's a possibility, and I think from a coaching standpoint, and Dane probably say the same thing, we'd love that opportunity to get another shot at them.
And that was, of course, a very exciting game. Let's go ahead and take a look at those standings right now, get everybody caught up to date out there in television land. And, of course, if you're a Miner fan, you already know what the score is. But it's nice to take a look at it right now, season coming to end. Hard to believe, Coach, that it's already the final game of the regular season.
We were talking about that in practice today, and I think that's a point that the seniors are really dwelling upon. And you start 4 years ago, and some of them start with junior minors, have been playing together for just a number of years, and then all of a sudden, we're down to the last regular season game for them, and hopefully we win, and hopefully we go on, and they play again and again and again. But there's a real reality check there. And
there is. And as we take a look at the standings, we're looking at that hot Franklin team, undefeated in league, 8-1 overall. Elk Grove following that, 8-1, 3-1 overall. Their only loss was to Laguna Creek in the league. And then Nevada Union, they own the tiebreaker against Laguna Creek. So even though they're both 6-3 and 2-2 in league, Nevada Union's only victory out of the top three was against Laguna Creek. And so they own the tiebreaker. They get the number 3 position. They get the number 3 seed out of the Delta Valley League. The top 3 teams go to the playoffs. Picking up the bottom part of the league, Davis at 1-3, whom the Miners just beat last week, 27-21, in order to stay in contention. And then, of course, Valley, 0-4, 3-5 overall. Long season for Valley, and that happens to be Nevada Union's next game. So Miners not only in charge of their own destiny now, thanks to that Franklin defeat of Laguna Creek, but that knocks Laguna Creek out of the playoffs. Miners have to be victorious against Valley. Now that game is going to be Thursday night, not the traditional Friday night, but Thursday night at Consumnes River College. Is that how you say that? Consumnes River College?
Consumnes is the correct pronunciation.
All right, very good. And Coach, it's one less day of practice then, because you guys have a Thursday night affair.
Yeah, and we kind of condensed the practices, and really at this point in the season, we're polishing and refining. The kids have done a lot of hitting, and we thought we got what traditionally is 4 days worth of practice into 3 days. So in a way, it's kind of exciting to be playing on Thursday night, something a little bit different, and we all know what's at stake, so there's no chance of being flat. So I think at this point, we feel like we've crossed the T's and dotted all the I's, and I think we'll be ready.
Well, you've had numerous weeks of practice, Dane, the preseason, summer camps, and weightlifting, and getting strong and preparing. I think it would be an understatement to say that the season went how you might have envisioned it early on.
Yeah, definitely. I think at the beginning, coming off the section title, we just weren't really expecting, we weren't sure what the league was like, so we wasn't sure what to expect, And so when the season started and things didn't go the way we expected, we just, wasn't the way we wanted it to go, so we had to pick it up during practices. And
was there a point, some game or whatever, where it became a gut check for you?
Yeah, probably when we lost against Elk Grove, that was the playoff game that would have secured our playoff spot. And when we lost, I think our team just went to a new level and decided that we need to pick it up and make the playoffs, because that's all we surround our whole season of. That's the playoffs, and we practice for the playoffs. So,
well, when you lost to Elk Grove, destiny wasn't in your control anymore.
Yeah,
and that must have been something that was talked about in the locker room or out on the field.
Yeah, it was.
Not a fun position to be in.
No, definitely not. I don't like being in that. I don't like depending on other teams to help us get into the playoff spot, or I just like doing it ourselves. And
so when did you guys find out that Franklin had beat Laguna Creek?
Actually, Coach called them at some point during the game and then said that Franklin was ahead 26-21, and then after the game he came and he just said that Franklin has 26 points, and then was kind of smiling, had a grin on his face, and was like, Laguna Creek had 21, and the locker room went crazy. So it was a pretty exciting night for
and everybody knew what was at stake there and what that meant for you guys. Yeah. Now you're going up against the last place team, Valley. Is there a tendency to play down to the level of somebody like a Valley or a weaker team?
I'm sure there's a tendency, but we definitely can't take them lightly this weekend because it's our whole season right here. And just because they're 0-4 doesn't say anything. They're a type of team that could upset anybody. So.
Well, they have scored 132 points. Of course, that's not a lot compared to the whole league. Franklin leads the league with 328 points overall. Nevada Union is third with 282, but that's just behind Elk Grove at 287. So the 132 points all season for Valley doesn't mean that they have a very strong offense, Coach.
Well, I don't know, Gil. I've seen them on tape. They have some tremendous athletes. I think you have to take into account the strength of our league. I think we have the highest winning percentage of any league in the California, in the Sac Joaquin section, in the north section. So the league's tough. As we know, anything can happen. They only gave up 17 points to Elk Grove. And, you know, the way that the league is, there's just a lot of talent around there. And I wouldn't be surprised if Elk Grove beat Franklin on Friday. So, and that would put them in first place, and we'd stay in third if we won. But it's just that close. So I think that's one reason why we don't take Valley lightly, and we've seen them on tape, and we know what they're capable of, and they have athletes that match up with any of the top teams ranked in our league right now.
Well, it is a tough league, and it's something new, and I know that Coach Humphers and a lot of people wanted to be in a tougher league. You guys love the competition, to go out and prove yourselves, and I'd have to say, you know, this first year of Delta Valley, you know, certainly might have given you guys everything that you can handle.
Well, that's for sure, and so that's what we're excited about. We just get by on Thursday night and win that, and then we get to start all over, and everybody starts 0-0, and may the best team win. And we're looking forward to that challenge because we really think we've gotten better in the last couple of weeks. I think Dane played his very best game last week, and I think we're peaking at the right time. We're going to get an influx of some younger athletes coming up from the JVs, some really talented people, and just the maturity level of having 9 games under your belt is going to help us a lot. So we're excited.
Now, speaking of the JV players, is there any standouts that might see some playing time?
Well, there's a couple of players up who we brought up a player last week, Chris Griffith, played a little bit, and then looks like we might bring another player up for tomorrow's game, and that'll probably be a game time decision. And then after that, Coach Humphers always encourages as many JVs and freshman players to come up and practice and work out, and we'll just kind of see how things go at that point.
Bring in a little fresh meat.
Yeah, and enthusiasm, and then, you know, a way to kind of learn how the varsity staff runs their drills, and kind of see it from the perspective of the speed and strength of a varsity team. And I really think that this year's juniors really benefited from that whole playoff run that we had last year. That was, you know, 4 games and all those practices, and so kind of like we don't have a spring practice, so it's kind of like a spring practice for our kids under the, you know, best of conditions. So. And
Dane, you get those younger kids coming up, the freshmen, the JV players. I'm sure you know a lot of them already. Are they looking up to you, the seniors, for some guidance, or do you go out and extend that, or are you just too busy focusing on what you guys need to do?
I think it's exciting, first of all, that they're coming up, and I respect them, so I try to help them out as much as I can to get them the knowledge of, like, pass my knowledge on that I've learned from my coaches to them to help them in their future career.
Now, I was looking at your sheet there as you were holding it, 3.5 GPA.
Yeah.
Pretty good at the books, too.
I'm not doing too bad this year.
And how tough is that, balancing the school work, which, you know, my daughter's a junior. It's not easy. She's got homework, and she's, you know, a 3.5 herself. And Of course, she's involved in some other activities as well, the basketball and stuff, softball, but how do you handle that time management?
I don't know. It's just we get home from football late. I just stay up and do it. Like, I have to get it done to be able to play, and I really enjoy playing football, so I got to keep my grades up.
Right.
Definitely.
Well, there's always life after football as well.
Yeah.
Any college plans or?
Yeah, I want to attend a university or state some kind. Probably, I'm thinking about Cal Poly. I'm not too sure though.
You gonna try to play some ball or?
Maybe. Yeah, I don't know about football. We'll see how things work out.
Well, I think you might be big enough. He's certainly big enough to tangle with those kind of kids.
Certainly big enough. Yeah. So, it's the kind of thing that he kind of has to weigh his options and see what comes his way. And Dane has all the physical tools, so. And the mental tools as well. He's one of the smartest players that I've coached. So we'll just have to see, and Dane will make, I'm sure, the best decision.
Now, when you're out there, you got game time. You're out in the field. Defense is out in the field. What's it like? Maybe you can describe to the audience out there what it's like to be in that huddle. You know, the offensive team hasn't come out. Maybe they've got a play where they just scored, you know, made 4 or 5 yards. What goes on in that huddle?
Well, first of all, it's really exciting. I love being out there under the lights with everybody watching. And, you know, I don't really enjoy them even moving the ball a little bit. So, like, especially when they score.
They have to hike it.
Oh, I know. Like, even get a yard.
It's a good answer, though, Gil. It's a real good answer.
He doesn't even like them snapping it. Don't move that ball.
No. Yeah, so.
So now, are you keying run for Valley? Are you keying pass? What is the film showed you?
Well, I'm just keying my normal key and playing off that, just doing it the same. They've got a couple formations where, like, they run certain things out of that we know what's coming. So basically reading the keys the same way and everything. So.
And we were talking prior to the show about how much time it takes for a defensive unit to gel. People don't realize that maybe they've never played football, or they just look at the minors or look at the stats or those kind of things. But there's a real gelling process that has to happen out there.
Yeah, definitely. I think trust is a big part of the whole unit, because we see our defense as a unit, not just individual players. Because if everybody does their job and you trust that person doing their job, then you can play as best as you can play.
Right, so if you have to take out that lead blocker or turn them inside, then you know that help's going to be there.
Yeah, definitely.
And, of course, one of the hallmarks of the defense is the swarm that you guys love to do.
Yeah.
And it's actually a lot of fun to watch. When that defense swarms the ball carrier, and you push the guy back, I think that sends a powerful message right there.
Yeah, definitely. Not a lot of running backs like to go out on their back, fall back on their back, or topped on their heads. So, and we haven't been doing much of that this year, and hopefully we can pick it up and show our message of NU defense and what that's all about. So.
Well, I think it's happened fairly regularly, hasn't it, Coach? Where they're swarming to the ball, you get 6, 7 guys over there.
Well, it's definitely our trademark, and they're working at it, and they're working at it every day, and we feel like we're making steps towards that direction. It's, you know, it was a younger defense, and coming off the defense that we had last year, and we had some exceptional players and some exceptional leaders on it, and so, you know, it takes time for it to kind of grow into its own, and we feel like it's starting to do that right now, and it's coming at a really good time. And the thing with defense is, you know, 10 guys can do it perfectly, and if one person's a little out of sync, it takes 11 guys playing together and everybody being in sync, and I think that's part of what Dane was alluding to in terms of trust, and it really is a team effort. So we're getting to that team sense of defense.
Well, I remember that one play, and I can't. I know I can remember the play, but I can't remember who it was. It might have been Elk Grove. It was certainly a home game where they went off tackle, and the kid did a spin move, an incredible spin move right in the middle of everybody, and threw everybody off, and then it just emerged from it and went all the way for the score. And I was just wondering, how can you accomplish that when you're in the middle of mayhem? Guys hitting each other and blocking each other, and arms grabbing and reaching, and still complete that spin move and go out there. Remember that play?
Yeah, definitely.
How does something like that happen? I mean, the guy was like a magician.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't remember what game that was. But lately we've been working on a lot more, like tackling a spinner, a guy spinning, so we don't have that people missing tackles. So we just hit them and hold them so they don't.
You don't really see too many runners employing that spin move, do you?
You know, it's gone a little bit by the wayside, but if you think about the great runners and you look at NFL history or college history and look at guys like Gil Sayers or Barry Sanders, I mean, the real quality backs, they have that as part of their repertoire as well. So it's a move that is really tough for a defensive player to try and stop. And like Dane said, we're working on it. We work on the spin all the time. But
well, that's where you need at least 2 or 3 guys right there to corral them.
That's right. We don't want ever, you know, sometimes you have to be out there on an island and make that open field tackle, but hopefully you're on an island for just a second or two, and then, you know, all your friends are coming for support.
And as you were saying also prior to the show, anything can happen in these games. The situation with Chad last week, all of a sudden your quarterback is down, they're taking him to the hospital. What kind of ripple did that send through the team?
Well, definitely. I think when Camille got hurt, I think it was 3 weeks before, it just made the whole team just like go to another level with anger and just wanted to just bury the team. And when Chad got hurt, I think we got there and was just didn't want them to score or even have the ball. So wanted Chad to get back. And
well, you didn't know that he was coming back, though.
Yeah.
I mean, he was gone. Took him away in an ambulance, and you got to figure as a coach, he's not coming back.
And I think what was really inspiring as a coach was, in both instances, Camille's injury that Dane alluded to, and then again with Chad, was the way that our team sort of rose to the occasion and got tougher, got more inspired, more energetic. And you know, these kids are with one another, you know, 15, 16 hours a day.
Dark to dark.
Dark to dark. So they're close, and these are meaningful friendships. So you know, if a comrade has gone down or hurting or whatnot, they really show their true colors and their true friendship and really rally to the cause. And we saw that last week at Davis.
Well, and we decided not to go to Davis. Instead, we went down to Bear River, and we did the Bear River El Dorado game. Bear River, of course, undefeated in league this year, having a great year. Once again, with a rookie team, their offensive line had never played a down of varsity football, and lost a couple of games early on in the preseason, but now they're undefeated. And of course, you'll be able to see that game immediately after this broadcast from Bear River versus El Dorado. The Cougars came in, Bear River needing a win to keep pace with Colfax, who was also undefeated, although they're a true undefeated at 8-0. So you'll be able to take a look at that game that you're seeing right there on your monitor. It was a cold, muddy, wet field down there at J. David Ramsey Stadium for Bear River Senior Night and their final home game of the regular season. They will go to Colfax this week, and of course that's where we will be for the Pioneer Valley League Championship game. Undefeated Colfax versus undefeated undefeated Colfax versus undefeated Bear River for the PVL Championship. Of course, playoff implications. Bear River's already in the playoffs. Colfax is already in the playoffs. who will win the league, who will get that home game. And so be sure to tune in for that this weekend. And a great, how does Colfax do it every year? Seems like they're always, they've won the league like 4 years in a row.
Very well coached. Their kids are good learners. They run a sophisticated offensive system and a lot of confidence in it, and it's tried and true for their kids, their coaches, and those are just great ingredients to success, I think.
I think it's because the town is so small they don't have anything to do but play football, and so.
People say that about us.
I think that's true about Grass Valley as well, but Grass Valley is a little bit bigger than Colfax. Do you know any of those guys up there?
I don't really know too many. Just when we went on the 7-on-7 game against them, they were pretty good. They were pretty tough guys. So.
And that's always a fun, that 7-on-7 drill, the game that they have up there.
They're always a really good test for us. It's a great opportunity for us because they're so spread and they run so many different formations and so many different patterns out of it. So it's always a real good learning process for us. So we look forward to it every spring.
So Miners playing Valley this Thursday night. Remember that if you want to go to the game, Consumnes River College, it's almost as far as Elk Grove, right?
That's right.
And just off the freeway. You want to be sure to not go on Friday, okay? I think there'll be a different game going on there Friday. But Thursday night, Miners in control of their own destiny after 1 week of not being in control of their own destiny can go to the playoffs. They will be the number 3 seed. And once again, I haven't looked at the whole grids, but who would you, if you beat Valley, do you know who you would be playing?
We have an idea, but you have to wait and see how the final games play out. So,
but it's the number 3 team or number 1 or 2 from some other league, right?
Right, from the MEL. So we'll just wait and see.
Wait and see who it's going to be. But Miner football is not over yet. A victory over Valley means they at least get 1 more week. And of course, once you're in the playoffs, 1 more week is all you get to think about.
That's right.
Just that next game. So we're going to wrap it up here in a second, but first we want to tell you that tonight's edition of Inside NU Football was underwritten by A to Z Supply Ace Hardware. Dan Wheat, your friend in the hardware business, big friend of Dave Humphers, and of course a big fan of NU Miner football. You can see him out there at the games every Friday night at Hooper Stadium. And the Real Graphics Source and Grass Valley Blueprint, a big thank you to them for making our Hooper Stadium background this year. We had to update it because of the new field. We didn't want to have the old field out there. And so we got on the horn with Mike and had him said, hey, can you do this? We had just a few days to do it because the game was on Friday. Shot it. The first show was on Wednesday, and we had the new field here for everybody to see right behind us, and they did a great job, so big thanks to them.
Field looks great, doesn't it?
It does. It looks beautiful,
fantastic.
and it looks great on camera also. If you haven't been out to Hooper Stadium, be sure to go out there next season and check it out. A beautiful facility. Coach, thanks for being here tonight with us.
It's a pleasure.
Dane, good luck next week, and we hope to see you guys in the playoffs. All right, that's a wrap up here. Guys, go out, have a great week. We'll see you next time on Inside NU Football. Good night, everybody.